All right, good morning. We're going to get started with the work session. Of course, 5 minutes turned into 10. It's not a surprise from me. We'll call the meeting to order. Second item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak to the work session this morning? Good morning, Dee.
I just stepped into this. I ain't gonna lie, like it was just really organic. I was just finna leave, but then y'all said it was public comment. How y'all doing? I'm DJ. I'm D Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. And I just got back from Cincinnati for this event called Esports Travel, speaking to different cities across the globe, honestly, on infrastructure, on hosting events, on educating different cities on how I actually help build infrastructure and ecosystem here. And excited for the Esports Regional Finals again this year. Last year we were able to bring 39 schools, 26 high schools, 13 colleges, 3 out of state. This year we're going to have 50 plus schools on top of a gaming organization called Seidel Gaming that is going to bring 2,500 gamers across the globe to come here and compete. I also spoke on speaking to this guy named Sermon Birchall, who actually works for FIFA. FIFA is starting to do something called the FIFA Festival, where they do a 6 to 7 day festival to enhance communities and bring traditional soccer, official FIFA branded soccer, but gaming and esports in the same ecosystem, as they all coexist in the same ecosystem. So I spoke to them about the DeVosses and Van Andels. I did say nice things, and was just like, hey, I'd like for y'all to try to host this FIFA festival here in Kent County because I believe it can bring economic boost. And just excited that Simon did follow through, because some people say, hey, I'm going to send you this, and then they BS you, but he actually followed through. I was on him diligently. I was on him consistently because I'd really like for us to be able to host these larger events that brings huge economic boosts, but just puts our community on. I also will be doing the 3-on-3 the day after my birthday. So my birthday is July 10th, but we're going to be doing the 3-on-3 in a block party. And I'd like to thank the GR Gold because they donated us some basketballs. And they're also sponsoring this event, and we're doing a $1,000 cash prize. So I thank them for enriching our community and giving back. I was on ABC 13 after I flew from Cincinnati. I came here and got on TV. So it's been a pretty cool July. It's been a nice July. July has been very good to me, and it'll continue to be good. So I'm excited for my birthday. I'll be 32. And I ain't getting no younger, but I'm excited to age though, because I'm getting better with age, as some people say. And so I'm just excited to really go after this vision, to continuously give back and inspire people from the community. I was outside until like 6 a.m. on the 4th of July. It was lit. I ain't gonna lie. I can't believe I could still do that, but y'all have a good one. Love.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment this morning? All right, I see none, so we will move into the meat of the agenda, which is the budget work session. As a reminder, we are looking at special revenue funds as proposed by the administrator today, so the balance of the budget that's not GF. And this will be for the full board, the last opportunity that we look at the budget prior to it coming for final consideration. So it will come next to the Finance Committee. So I'll hand it over to Al. Good morning.
Good morning, again. And this morning, Keith is going to do the PowerPoint presentation, and Jeff and I are available to help provide color and answer questions if necessary. Keith?
Morning, Keith.
Morning. Thank you, Al. All right, so the focus of today's presentation, as the chair just stated, is going to be on the special revenue funds. And today's overview will be a summary. Detailed information on all funds can be found in the proposed budget book. For the agenda, we'll be seeing a high-level summary of all the special revenue funds budgeted and a brief overview of the millage funds, the lodging excise tax fund, and the special project fund. In summary, the total 2027 proposed expense budget for special revenue funds is $274.4 million. The distribution of the total special revenue fund budget by each fund is shown on this slide. Health, child care, the correction millage, and the lodging excise tax fund account for over 50% of the total special revenue funds budgeted. The senior millage fund is the first one we are going to be looking at today. If you want to see the statement, it's on page 46 of the proposed budget document. It's also up here on the screen. The senior millage fund accounts for the proceeds of the dedicated millage levied to plan, coordinate, evaluate, and provide services to persons 60 years of age or older. The funding for the senior millage fund is managed by the Area Agency on Aging of Western Michigan. And the total revenue budget for 2027 is $18.7 million in this fund, which is up 4.3% from 2026. And just a note here, the owner of the home pays around $48.57 a year on a taxable value of $100,000 to fund this millage. This graph shows the programs the senior millage provides support to. The largest categories include $5.8 million for wellness, $3.9 million for meals and food service, and $2.8 million for senior transportation. The Veterans Millage Fund is the next one we'll be looking at. You can find that on page 54 of the proposed budget document. The Veterans Millage Fund accounts for the proceeds of the millage to provide burial assistance, non-recurring emergency financial assistance, and a contact for information about available veteran services and programs. The total revenue budget for 2027 is $1.9 million, which is up 4.4% from 2026. And the owner of a home for this millage pays around $4.85 a year on a taxable value of $100,000. This graph breaks down the programs the veteran millage supports. The largest category is $585,000 for administration, which includes the veterans manager and 2 clerks, as well as things like software, training, computers, insurance, etc. And the second largest category is $577,000 for information, referrals, and support, which includes veteran services representatives. And these 2 categories are followed by outreach at $230,000 and house cleaning and substance abuse and mental health services at $120,000 each. Ready by 5 millage fund can be found on page 41 of the proposed budget document. This fund accounts for the proceeds of the millage to provide programs that improve the health, school readiness, and well-being of children under the age of 5. The total revenue budget for 2027 is $9.4 million for this fund, which is up 3.7% from 2026. The owner of a home for this millage pays around $24.47 a year on a taxable value of $100,000. This graph shows the programs the Ready by 5 millage provides support to. The largest categories include $3.1 million to increase the proportion of children who are developmentally on track, $2.7 million for Born Healthy, which includes programs and services that promote healthy pregnancies, safe births, and strong foundations for infant well-being, and $2.2 million for accessible resources to provide easier access, higher quality interactions, and culturally appropriate services. The Lodging Excise Tax Fund can be found on page 42 of the budget book. This fund accounts for the expenditures incurred in promoting Kent County and maintaining, acquiring, or constructing its public convention and entertainment facilities. Revenues are provided by the excise tax on transient room rentals, which increased from 5% to 8% in January of 2025. The total revenue budget for 2027 is $24.2 million, which is up 3.1% from the 26 budget. This graph provides a breakdown of what the lodging tax supports. The largest categories include $9.2 million for the DeVos Place debt and $6.1 million for debt on the Acrisure Amphitheater and the Amway Soccer Stadium. The last major category is the contribution to Experience Grand Rapids, which is budgeted at $4.6 million. And on this slide, we just have a breakdown of the original 5% lodging tax, and the 3% addition that started in January 2025. This just shows the budget allocation for each of these separate cost centers within the lodging tax fund. The correction and detention fund is found on page 47 of the proposed budget document. This millage accounts for the proceeds levied to pay for operations and debt service related to the correction and detention facilities. Total revenue for 2027 is $27.6 million, which is up 4.1% from 2026. The owner of a home for this millage pays around $73 a year on a taxable value of $100,000 to fund this millage. The 2027 budget for correction and detention includes a transfer out to the general fund of $28 million, which is around 88% of the total expense budget in this fund. And then the remaining $3.6 million budget is for the debt service related to correctional facilities. The special project fund is the next one on our list. You can find that on page 61 of the proposed budget document. The special project fund accounts for expenditures and revenues of activities primarily financed by restricted grants or special revenue sources. The total revenue budget for 2027 is $17.5 million, and approximately 11% of the funding sources for this fund is expected to come from a general fund transfer in 2027. And this graph shows the distribution of the $19.7 million expense budget in the special project fund. $4 million is for sheriff-provided security for county courts and parks, and $3.3 million is for the school resource officer program, and $9.4 million is for the sheriff township law services. The remaining budget is for other sheriff special revenue functions and the probate court guardianship program. A detailed list is on page 35 of the proposed budget book if you want to see the detail for all the projects within this fund. And then going forward, this Thursday, we're going to be establishing the date for the public hearing, which is supposed to occur on August 13. After that, August 18, the Finance Committee will act on the grants that are included in the 2027 budget as well as the budget itself. So you'll see some detail on all the grant funds come forward for grant acceptance. And then on August 27, the Board of Commissioners will be acting on the 2027 budget. So with that, we'll end the presentation, and if there's any questions at that time or at this time, we're happy to help answer.
Thank you, Keith. Commissioners, questions, comments? Commissioner Pacla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the great presentation, and I liked following along with the budget book as well. I had two questions. First is for the special revenue funds, I think I heard you said 11% comes from general fund. Where's the other 89% coming from?
Yes, that's the special project fund. A lot of the revenues for that fund come from local municipalities to fund the sheriff services.
Since most of those are sheriff services.
Yeah, a lot of those are sheriff services.
Okay.
Like school resource officers and the township law program.
So it's effectively sort of a holding account for those services that we're providing from external stakeholders?
Yes, that's correct.
The other question I had was for the lodging and excise tax, we have the two cost centers, the 3% and the 5%. Do we estimate that we're always going to separate those two cost centers, or will there be a point in time where we're combining them into a single cost center? I know right now, because of sort of some of the long-term obligations that we have, we kept them separately.
Yeah, for the contractual obligations we have right now, they have to be separated. In the future, I suppose if we don't have a similar commitment, then we could probably combine them at that point.
I think that would be the plan.
Great.
Combine them when those obligations are.
They are 30-year debt though, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a
Yep.
while.
A long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Others, commissioners? Commissioner Morales.
Just a simple question. Since you were kind of flying by, would you mind sending us that PowerPoint when you have a moment?
We,
Is
I
that shareable?
believe, received it.
Did I? Okay. I didn't see it
Should
in
be
the
in your
email.
email.
with the agenda. Let me check. Thank you.
Other commissioner questions or comments? I don't know if we're going to really make this a 15-minute work session. I mean, we certainly can.
I'm okay with that.
We deserve some of those,
Commissioner LeGrand.
I do have one question on the, the Veteran Service Millage Fund. For example, we have the 2025 actual, nothing adopted for 2026, nothing proposed for 2027. I'm sure there's a very simple explanation for that. What is that? It's on page 34.
Page 34. I
Or
believe you're
community-
looking at the.
Maybe that's Community Development
Yeah,
Fund?
that's the
I'm
Community
sorry, I didn't-
Development Fund.
I'm
Yep.
reading, yeah, okay.
And just an explanation on that, the Community Development Fund operates on a July 1 to June 30 fiscal year. So the budget for the Community Development Fund was just brought forward to the board in June, and it's part of the amended budget, so it's not part of the adopted budget
Okay.
process, which is why we show zero.
Okay,
in
so the
the,
zeros just mean you don't have that information yet? Not that they've been axed?
It's just not part of the adopted budget process is why it's zero. But there is a budget for community development. It just
Okay.
comes to the board separately, apart from the annual budget process.
Knew there was a simple explanation. Thank you.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. On the Correction and Detention Fund, I probably should know this answer, but so as you explained, and I think I'm reading, we transfer out the operational costs that are covered by that fund just into the general fund. I'm just curious the history of that, like why, I see there's the expenditures by category for personnel, supplies, et cetera, but that are just zeros, like, why do we just transfer it into the general fund as opposed to like operating those like OpEx costs out of this particular fund?
All the operating costs for the corrections services are within the general fund, and the corrections millage fund just takes in the revenues from that millage, and then since the operating costs reside in the general fund, we just process the transfer out to the general fund to cover operations.
Yeah, I get that. Is that because like the costs of operations exceed what this funds? And so for, operational, accounting, it's easier to just transfer this portion out to the larger amount that gets spent out of the general fund?
Yeah, that's to keep all the operational costs in one place, and you're exactly correct. The operating budget for the corrections division is around, I think, 56 to 60 million or so. So, yeah, this funding doesn't cover all of it. It's just a portion of the operational costs.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Others, commissioners? We certainly don't need to belabor the point today, and I know everybody's got other things to do, including our own staff. So last call. All right, you get off pretty easy this morning, Keith. And so I'd like to say thanks. We appreciate taking the time to meet with us and the work that's going into this. We'll continue on through the process. Item number 4 on the agenda is commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments this morning? I see none. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.